Order up! What is up? Thank you for clicking on this brand new episode of the Order Up podcast right here on Slicing Dicing Gaming Entertainment on YouTube, and of course the Order Up podcast on SoundCloud. So for this episode of the podcast, I was debating what I wanted to talk about, if I wanted to do something a little bit more motivational, or if I want to do a Food Wars podcast. I think I want to save the Food War podcast for a little bit later, so we're actually going to get into that. But on this podcast, I actually wanted to talk about something that's kind of personal to me and something that I think a lot of people struggle with in their life, and that is finding your voice. And finding your voice, it spans everything in life, from your hobbies, your interests, to your friends, to your family, to your job. And it can be very hard to find kind of who you are and to find your voice in the world. And it takes time, and it takes so much time to kind of figure it out. Because when you're young, you try to blend in with everybody. You want kids to like you, you want friends, and you try to do, what they do. You try to eat the same snacks that they like, play the same games, talk about the same things, and you try to have friends. And then, but as you get older, you kind of realize who you are is very important, and who you are attracts the right people. And then I think, especially in today's world with social media and Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and Pinterest, you get caught up in kind of this visual game of, I have to wear these clothes, I have to like these things, I have to say this for people to like me. And you get caught up in likes and tweets and retweets and followers and subscribers, and it's a whole mess of kind of clout. And I've kind of said this before, where we're in a clout society now, and you kind of lose your voice chasing clout because you want people to like you. You want, this mass amount of followings, and you try to do the things that will cater to that. But then that might not be who you are. And in the process of chasing clout, you lose your voice. And so, so we're in a society where we're just kind of clout chasing, and you can lose your voice trying to get this clout, to obtain this clout. And one of the things that I learned, especially as you grow up and as you get older, the more you kind of the more authentic you are. Like, yeah, you might not get a bunch of friends, but you start to click with people, a lot closer to you. Your circle might be small. Like, your circle might legit be 2-3 people, but those 2-3 people will really, care about you, will rock with you, will really be interested in you're interested in. And that's kind of the thing in life. And so I'm just kind of saying, like, be you. Be who you are. If you like country music, talk about your favorite artist. Do that. Listen to it all the time. No matter how old you are, even if you're like 11 years old and you're the only person in your class that like country music, kids might laugh about you. They might talk about you. But there might be one other person in the class that's like, hey, I actually like country music too. Maybe we can talk about some of our favorite, our favorite artists. Maybe we can listen to some music together. Maybe we can kind of, share new songs with each other, things like that. So, because you never know what people are interested in until you say your interest. And people can clown you and talk about you, like, oh, you still into that? Because for a long time, like, I've been a long time wrestling fan. I watched wrestling when I was younger and growing up. And about high school, maybe about junior year of high school, I kind of stopped watching wrestling because I was just like, oh, I grew up out of it. It'd be fine, whatever, and I didn't watch wrestling for about 6 years or something like that, 6-7 years. And then back in 2016, actually, yeah, about 2016, I kind of started to get back into wrestling again, and I watch it wherever I can. So I watch WWE stuff, Raw and SmackDown, NXT. I watch NXT UK too, and then I watch AEW. I try to watch Impact when I can. You had Defiant Wrestling. You have like all the different promotions. I try to watch stuff when I can. And people be like, oh, you still watch wrestling? Like, isn't that for kids? And it's like, I mean, if you're into it, you're into it. And I think that's very important, especially in today's society where everybody's more important about clout. Being authentic is so key, and it's so vital, and it's a lost resource because so many people nowadays aren't really authentic. Because and it was me and myself. You can't get caught up in what people do on social media because it's a controlled environment. You know what I'm saying? Like, people can control what they put on Instagram. They could put all the shoes, all the Gucci, all the Louis Vuitton, all the places they go out to, the cars they drive, things like that. But their life could be in shambles. They could be in a bad headspace. They could be going to therapy and taking 3 or 4 or 5 medications. They could not sleep well. They can go through, they can go through sleep apnea when they're not sleeping the best. They can have anxiety and depression and all these things, but they might not post that stuff because they don't want to show that, because they want to just show the highlights. And for me personally, I try to show highlights and lowlights. I try to post when I get a new job, but also post when I quit my job and my credit score was taking like a nasty hit from, bouncing around from job interview to job interview to getting the pay raise. I try to show my life on both sides, 'cause I think being authentic and and I think people appreciate it. So when you speak, your voice holds weight. You know what I'm saying? I think that's something that's very authentic. When you find who you are, people know who you are, and they resonate to it. So people know I'm a gamer. I love comics. I love sports, food. All these things, and people resonate with it. So when I speak on certain things, like if I speak on comics, people are like, oh, they kind of like, oh, maybe I'll check it out. If I talk about sports, I'm not one of the guys like, oh, Taryn don't know what he's talking about. He's just, trying to be in the conversation. No, if I talk about sports or, the Bears or the Bulls or anything, excuse me, if I talk about anything, a lot of people they take it to heart because I kind of know what I'm talking about. And they appreciate it because they know, oh, like he's pretty authentic, he don't be on that BS. He's, I can listen to him. And your voice is so important because it's your voice. And because I know for me personally, I'm this unique combination of like in sports, but I'm also a big gamer, but I love comic books, but I love wrestling, but I love anime, but I love all these different genres of things, and you put them all together, especially with food and cooking. I'm this weird hybrid of things because usually you don't get that, and actually, a lot of my friends are very similar, where they like sports, they like anime, they like video games, and we all get along like that because that's who we are. So it's really cool. Like when you start finding your voice, you start people that resonate with your voice, and that's really important. And it takes a while. Like you might go through days. You might not have 20 friends or 300,000 subscribers or 300,000 followers, but the people that you do have in your life, they appreciate who you are, and they know your voice, and they appreciate what you say and what you like and what you don't like, and they're behind you. So it takes a while. Like, don't be depressed. Don't get frustrated if you only have one friend or you only have like 100 followers on Twitter or whatever. If those 100 followers like who you are, if they're very similar to you and like what you say and like your hobbies and have the same interests, they'll be interested in everything you say, and that's the most important part because life is too short. So be who you are. Be authentic to you are. Be authentic to who you are. There we go. And be you. Like, don't get caught up in trying to be everyone else, trying to be the same voice as everyone else. There's how many billions of people in the world? There's a lot of voices. Be your voice. Be the voice that stands out, that cuts against the grain of what everyone else is saying, because the world needs it. The world needs you to be you, because there's enough of everybody else. There's like 500 billion everybody's, but there's only one you. So take that to heart. Anyway, so this will be the wrapping up this new episode of the Order Up Podcast. Again, right here on Slicing Dicing Gaming Entertainment on YouTube, and of course, the Order Up Podcast on SoundCloud. If you like the podcast, definitely give it a like and a heart, a like on YouTube, share it, give it a heart on SoundCloud, also share it. Also follow the podcast on SoundCloud, follow the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel has gaming, the podcast, food, and we're actually getting ready to rev up season 3 of the menu over on the YouTube channel in November, so definitely stay tuned for that. I would like to get the podcast out a little more consistently, but we'll see what happens. Life and work, and we'll see what happens. My schedule is kind of all over the place, but I try to get them here and there. Again, thank you for listening to the podcast. I greatly appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. Maybe I do want to do that Food Wars podcast to kind of explain why I like Food Wars and why I think it's such a unique anime and how much I love it. It's probably one of my favorite animes that come out in the past couple of years now, but we'll get into that when I get into that episode. It might be the very next episode of the podcast. But again, thank you for checking out the Order Up Podcast. Thank you for listening. Once again, I am Taryn Williams. I will see you in the next video. I'll see you in the next podcast. Later.